idea of being in at the highest high and the lowest low when you're trying to sell short and buy long. You need to put that aside for right now. That model that I taught in 2022, notice it didn't teach you to get the actual high when you're going short. What did I take away from you? The necessity of being right. How do you know when an equal high is going to be broken out and it's going to continue, or if it's going to go above a relative equal high and then a shift in market structure and then goes lower? That's what that model teaches you. It teaches you don't fucking worry about it. You're expecting the market to do what? Expand one direction or the other based on a weekly chart. What's the weekly chart likely to be reaching for? What does that mean? The same logic we're talking about in any time frame. Is it drawing up to an old high or equal highs? Or is it going up into a fair value gap that it hasn't reached up into? Or is it more likely to go down below old low or relative equal lows on the weekly chart? Or down below into a inefficiency, which is a fair value gap on the weekly chart. So you have to figure out, is it more likely for that weekly chart to expand, not to close up or down? Is it more likely to have a movement, expansion on that weekly candle up, or is it more likely to go down? That right there sets the stage for the 80% bracket for you to be right for your trades. And if you just operate like that, engage in your trades just like that, you won't have max loss days. Teaching to you, my haters now. Okay, that's where you're blowing your shit. When you're doing your live streams and you're blown out, you're going against that. And if you just would put your ego aside and just listen to me, you don't have to rep me. Just listen, fix it, leave a better legacy for your kids. Once you identify that weekly bias on the weekly chart, is it more likely to have a big move up or a big move down? And it can only happen as small as one session. Like the big move for the week can happen just in the morning session of one day. And that creates that movement or expansion in the weekly chart. And it's done. You've fulfilled your bias for that week. But when folks hear me talk about this, they think when I'm talking about the weekly chart, I'm trying to predict the closing price of the weekly candle. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just looking for factors that would lend well to determining whether or not that weekly candle that we're forming right now or about to start later tonight for a new week, is it likely to expand up or is it likely to expand down? That right there is your 80% threshold that will give you the biggest edge in deciding on how you're going to trade going into the new week. But what if I'm wrong? Okay, but what if you're right and you follow the logic? It will reward you for being diligent about following the rules. If you're wrong, it won't matter because that doesn't mean it fails. It just means that transaction, your opinion about what you thought you were going to see in the market didn't pan out that instant, that time, that interval, that transaction. Just like a flat tire going to work. Just like a cake you left in the oven just a little too long. Just like when you're in the drive-thru, you're waiting 15 cars deep. You get up there, pay your shit, up the road you go. Oh shit, they didn't give me my French fries. I'm already half home. Fuck it. Inconvenience. You lost something. You gonna go back and eat there again? Sure as fucking right you are. You absolutely are. But you're not gonna do what? You're not gonna turn that fucking car around, waste the gas and time, go right back through there just to get your fucking French fry. You're not doing that. So what do? You eat it. That's just an inconvenience. That's the life. That's life. And this generation doesn't get taught to accept those types of things. And you're all coming into this with this millennial mindset and you're all going nuts because you can't have it your fucking way here. You got to align yourself up with this. This market runs the show. And you have to align yourself with this expectation that's realistic. And it has to be uniquely yours. It can't be just because I say so, not because I'm interested in that marker or that specific setup. I have lots of setups. And I might not be watching a chart at the time that you say, oh, well, why didn't ICT look at this fair value gap? Or why didn't he consider this down close candle as an overbought? I'm not looking at that setup like you're looking at it. Don't be discouraged by that because That might be the very model that is yours, and it just didn't give you a setup then. What does that mean? It didn't give you a fucking setup then. Can't lose money on that one, right? But it moved. So fucking what? Bitcoin went up too. I ain't it. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I know I'm going to catch moves this week in ES. I know I'm going to. Can you guarantee that you're going to make moves in Bitcoin? Crickets. So you're all hoping it's a moon run. I don't need a moon run. You don't need a moon run. You need consistently delivered setups every week, not a hope and a prayer. So between the moves, the highest entry point and the lowest entry point, using retail logic, my mindset went to the middle of the move. That's the meat. That's the biggest portion. The longest duration of price movement is in the middle, between the highest high and the lowest low. In any price run, any time frame, study it. And when you see that fair value gap in there, study it. How many times does it close that gap entirely and fill it in? How many times does it just go halfway? How many times does it just go in it just a little bit for institutional order flow entry drill and then continue on? And how many, here's the main thing. How many times does it go beyond the fair value gap that would stop you out if you were in line with that move? See, I've taught you how to focus on where the market's likely to go. If you got consistent with that, the next stage of your development is, where should you place a stop that is reasonable in terms of risk and range, that is a repeating process that doesn't deviate much? In short, where do you place your stop that allows you to put a low risk stop loss on, but you won't fear it being stopped out? But if it does get you stopped out, you don't care because you're probably dead wrong about the whole idea, and you would want to be out there anyway. Notice that is starkly different from that of a retail book that'll say, if you're going long, just go back to the old swing low and put your stop loss down here. You know, I have so many books that talk that bullshit. If you do that, like if you're trading high grade copper, okay, high grade copper, every cent move, and it's $250 per cent move. That's like equivalent to having 5 minis on the S&P. That's what it's equivalent to. So if I'm looking at the chart and the example they're saying, you have to do this. I got to have a $2,000 stop per contract. Go fuck yourself, man. I'm not taking that trade. But now I could look at that same setup, break that bitch down, go into a lower time frame, wait for a market structure shift using 2020 model, wait for it to come back down to a fair value gap, trade that, put a stop loss below the fair value gap, and I'll use probably less than half of 1 cent move as a stop loss. See the difference there? Wisdom, understanding. But none of the fucking books ever taught this. But it created and presented problems for me that I struggled with because I'm obsessively compulsive. So anytime an author admitted a weakness, they were treasures for me, because well, not so much treasure, but they were treasure hunts. Because if you're telling me you can't do something, tell me you can't do something. I have respect for the fact that you're being honest about that. But I also used it as a pursuit to overcome you. You're my teacher because I bought your fucking book, I bought your course. But I'm going to lap you. I'm going to take whatever you have that works and I'm going to turn it up tenfold. And I'm going to make it superhuman. Because if it works, I know how to multiply that. And I'm not talking about over leveraging multiple contract sizes or lots. If we're talking about Forex, I'm talking about conceptually refining it down to a science.